walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them. He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
We're just getting started. Game is not over. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to another edition of, I guess, the second straight Houston Roundball review takeover of the lunch break, powered by JM&E live, streaming live on Roku on the BS3 network. I am Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball review. Joining me shortly, hopefully, is Andy Yanez and Willie Gibson, but also a special guest should be popping in a couple of minutes. Hey, CJ, how are you doing? And there's one of them. He had a big interview to finish up. And I guess here, just bring him in real quick. How are you, sir, Mr. Yanez? Hey, Mr. Gibson, how are you, sir?
Doing well. How about you?
Hey.
I'm doing great. Willie, man, I know you had plans to take, things to take care of. So I'm glad you were able to join us for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before your day job takes into effect, But let's get into it because our special guest, I'm not saying you guys aren't special, but y'all aren't guests really on the lunch break. But Andy Yanez, how are you, sir? I'm
doing good. I was going to say it's the Folks Talking Sports takeover.
It is that as well. And can we now say, how was your interview, sir?
It was great. It was 45 minutes, a lot of in-depth talking about different stuff. And be on the lookout for it soon. It was an interview with the University of Houston Vice President of Athletics, Chris Pesman, who did give me the green light to post the interview, so that'll be available in the coming days on Pod Slamma Jamma. So for those of you that are new, or for those of you that have never heard, it's PAWDSLAMAJAMA on YouTube, and be on the lookout for my personal Twitter, which you can see on the screen at @Ayanez_5. For some articles on that interview as well for gallerysports.com.
Excellent. See, Willie Gibson, folks don't know about us. They're going to find out about me, you, and Andy Yanez. We talk to people.
Oh, listen, if they don't know, they better ask somebody.
Indeed, they better ask somebody. That's true. Or they're going to find out, or move and get out the way, whatever. But yes, this is TakeOver, Throwback Thursday, TakeOver Thursday, as AJ has coined it for us the last 2 weeks here on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live once again on the BS3 network on Roku. Let's get into it real quick. Willie Gibson, what are your thoughts on Draymond Green getting those one-game suspension?
Reputation. And I thought it was reputation to begin with, and then Joe Dumars said it. I mean, but at the same time, Draymond has to know. This is not, you're not Hulk Hogan. This is not WrestleMania. You can't do what he did, egging on the crowd, calling the crowd names. Oh, and by the way, Adam Silver was in the building.
Right.
I mean, in and of itself, the individual act probably doesn't warrant a suspension. However, in totality, everything that occurred that night, you got to get him out of there. You have to, and that's on him. And that's on him.
Agreed. We share the same viewpoint on it. I just, Draymond got no better. His track record is not squeaky clean. Okay, so that's part of it. And then after he stomped on Sabonis's chest, he went over to the bench, got into it with some fans, talking trash with fans, and egging on fans, doing you represented Hulk Hogan stuff as well. But then went over by the Warriors bench, talking to Sacramento Kings fans behind him. Come on, man, this ain't wrestling.
No.
And I said like that, wrestling, not wrestling, wrestling. This ain't wrestling, that WWE stuff. If you want to have a career in that after NBA, okay, you might do pretty well at that. Come think of it, but
sooner than later, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but no. And 1 game suspension, and to add to it, for folks, let's think about it, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really believe that the NBA prefers the Sacramento Kings to advance in the playoffs as opposed to the Warriors?
Clearly not. Clearly not.
Folks. All right, really. And talking about, well, back in the 90s, I'm a fan of the Bad Boys. This ain't the 90s, okay?
Yep.
You cannot do now what you did 30 years ago, what the NBA allowed 30 years ago.
Yep.
If y'all don't know that by now, that's your fault. Well, Joe Dumars and known Draymond for years. Yeah?
He has. and that's part of the reason Draymond should know better.
Yes. I'm not going to ask you, Will, Andy. Bring Andy in, and our star, I think she's ready, sitting in her big office. She is ready. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Lauren Sampson.
Hi.
How are you, Lauren?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. And welcome to the lunch break. Have you been on the lunch break?
I don't think so.
No, she's been on Folks Talking Sports and, of course, one-on-one interviews with me a few times. I think Andy talked to you as well. Willie Gibson, have you met Lauren Sampson?
I have.
Yes, right. Yeah. So, as you can tell, she's joining us from that huge office inside the Garvey Lewis Development Center.
We get smaller and smaller as the years go by.
But Lauren, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's April. It's the off season.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
Exactly. So what, as the director of basketball operations for men's basketball for the Houston Cougars, and folks who don't know who Lauren is, my fault there. Let them know what you do. Or better yet, it might be easier to say what you don't do for the program. Your choice.
I know. I lovingly say majority of my job would be duties as assigned. It's kind of how it works for us.
So, but as you said, it's not really, there's no off season for you, but what are you focusing on right now in the month of April?
We just kind of got through some successful on-campus visits with our 2 new additions, which was great. And I'm working on some of the new stuff, new plans we have going on in Guy-V, the new additions we're doing. And then, of course, you've got Australia coming up this summer. Our coaches are back and forth recruiting right now. We're getting through the end of school year with our players, working on it's camp, you name it. We kind of have it all going on right now.
How have things changed in the last, when was the announcement of joining the Big 12? How, if things have changed since that announcement of Houston joining the Big 12?
For us, not so much. Nothing. Is the honest answer.
And I take that in all seriousness. I take that as you and Coach Kelvin Sampson have always prepared the program to be a big-time program.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. We felt like that Power 5 label were for other people, not so much for us.
And do you got any questions for Lauren?
Well, the thing that highlighted what you just said a second ago, the trip to Australia, I think I think Coach Calvin Sampson has mentioned it before, but it might be the. Is it officially official that it's happening? Are there any details you could share on that Australia trip?
No, I mean, I'm the one asking for more and more details. We're still working on the itinerary. We're still working on who will play, what cities we want to go to. So we're just still in that kind of plugging away period with it. But, you know, making sure everyone has passports. So when that time comes, we're ready to go.
And when do you hope to have the details finalized?
I would say early June.
Okay. And then the trip takes place in August?
Yes.
And how long will it last?
About 10 days.
Oh, 10 days. Okay. Andy, are you going to go?
I'm not sure yet. I have to coordinate. I guess now I have to wait on the details as well whenever you guys announce it. But I guess kind of on that topic, is there anything from the last trip, which was in 2019, right, when you guys went to Italy?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you might have learned from that trip that you're kind of using in this upcoming trip?
Honestly, it was little things like what is the temperature like in the countries we visit in August?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That was
that's
a major deciding point for us.
Yeah.
And it will be winter in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Land on under. Yeah. Yep. That's right.
But you want each trip to be different. We've been at our different spots. We've been Russia, China, Costa Rica, Bahamas, Italy, and now Australia. So you kind of different spots, places that you may not be able to go to in any other context. And a lot of times that's your deciding picture. And then, of course, the basketball. What kind of games can you put together? The kind of competition, all of that kind of comes into play. I'm very much more of a passenger on the Australia trip, which is lovely.
Will, do you have any questions for Lauren Sampson?
I do.
Have to head out.
I do, and that was kind of she kind of mentioned it in her last statement along the lines of, outside of basketball during the trip, what other things? Is this like a study abroad program for some of the players perhaps, or what types of other things would be involved in the trip?
Yeah, we work with professors here at the University of Houston, so they can get some credits, but it really is the experience. A lot of kids will end up playing overseas. And so it's a nice way for them to kind of understand what these countries are about while they're kind of with, the comfort of almost your family away from your family. And so that's always really beneficial. It's also, when we bring these kids on this campus, it's great to expose them to different things. And so that's what these trips kind of afford you. It's the bonding of the program. This program, we almost are looking at it a bit like it's the end of an era, our end of being in the American and the beginning of the Big 12. So we're going to have a lot of new faces, 3 incoming freshmen, 2 transfers. So it's a great opportunity for the program itself, coaches, staff, players, to really get to know each other before we go into the slog of competition.
Lauren, this is kind of putting you on the spot, so I apologize, but you've been around long enough to know how to give a answer, non-answer. As far as you know, are there any plans for a celebration of Houston Athletics joining the Big 12 on or around July 1st?
I'm not sure. I sincerely have no idea.
Would you like something along the lines, even if it takes place days afterwards?
I would vote for days after. That's usually one of the weekends that we can sneak out. One of the few weekends in the year that you get a little sleeping time. But yeah, I think it would be great for, there's been so many fans. I love to if you've ever seen me at a game, I just kind of roam around a lot. And so it's nice to talk to a lot of folks that were in school when we were in the Southwest Conference, and they kind of hung with us. And I'm one who has loved our time in the American. I think the American was really, really good to Houston Athletics. I think we established a lot of great rivalries. We had a lot of great competition. We accomplished a lot. I think it stabilized, at least on the men's basketball side, the program, and we were able to be successful on a national space within the American. And so there's a lot of folks that it's a nice way, hopefully, to kind of tip our hat to where we've come from, as well as looking forward to what's ahead.
Well, with the trip to Australia, and I feel weird saying this, but I'm going to refer to Coach as your dad. Will y'all have a chance to do any summer visits like he's mentioned previous years before COVID to tour other facilities, NBA facilities, either bigger college facilities, to get some ideas for further facilities upgrades on campus?
Yeah, we've kind of been doing that the whole time.
Okay.
We don't talk about it a lot, but we've been doing it. So we're really excited. We're in the midst of talking with architects, and we're meeting with the graphic folks. We're picking out carpet. Like we're in a good spot.
And is this for the second floor upgrades?
Yeah, primarily on the second floor.
Will that work be begun this summer soon?
Here's hoping.
Here's open. Okay. That's great to hear. Any idea?
You never know. I think
Sure.
We're in a landscape of you're waiting for things to come in. You're waiting on what are the timelines on when you can get materials in. So the last thing you want to do is bust down a wall and they look at you and you go, listen, lockers aren't going to be here for another 6 months. So we're smart about it.
All right. Once again, we're talking with Lauren Sampson, or Lauren Sampson talking with us, joining us here on the lunch break here on Throwback Thursday. Andy Yanez, do you have any more questions for Lauren?
Yeah, kind of following up on those renovations. What do you guys get input from players? What kind of those conversations are like to be able to pick the different stuff that you guys are going to put in those renovations?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conversations. We kind of have our plans. God, they're all outside my office right now. I kind of move, my office turns into much of the third floor after a while. But yeah, there's a lot of, you pick things that you've seen. When you've been in other schools, you think about durability, right? There's that practical point of any of these facilities where you're thinking, oh gosh, that carpet's going to stain. I mean, It's just like anyone that ever built a house, the practicality of some of this stuff comes into play. But you sit there and you look at how the players use the building as is, and you think, well, how can we better do it? And it's as simple as that. Oh, this is where they're sleeping. God, it would be great if we could actually put in some beds in here. Oh, this is how they're eating. Wouldn't it be great if we could do a built-in here? So a lot of it is just seeing how the kids use the facility, and then we figure out things that are missing, how we can upgrade it, and how we can kind of compete.
Fantastic. Prior to July, will you have any downtime?
We vacation as a family because we're nuts. We don't get enough time together. So we'll go kind of as a family on a quick little vacation prior to June session.
Have you ever been to Australia?
No.
So it'll be your first time as well.
It will be my first time as well. We keep laughing up here and we keep pulling up, what do they eat in Australia? What is the weather? They eat what we eat. It's not we have discovered that. But it's going to be, I mean, it's really fun. I'm really excited to kind of see these new kids. We'll be with everyone starting in June, but it's always really, really fun. Events happen when you're on these foreign tours that these stories last forever.
Well, Lauren, thank you very much. Andy, if you have one final question for Lauren before we let her go.
This is just a funny question. Is vacation coach Kelvin Sampson different from just regular Kelvin Sampson?
Completely.
Really?
Completely.
And,
vacation coach Sampson is my dad, Coach Sampson, if that makes sense. My friends, he was the fun dad. He was the carpool dad on the way to dance class. If you think of this era with, Taylor Swift blaring it out, he was with my friends blaring it out with Britney Spears. He was always the fun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the perception of him always makes me chuckle, and it makes my friends that I grew up with chuckle because it's not the same.
some way, somehow, Andy, we're gonna have to figure out a way to squeeze in a Britney Spears reference or something, a carpool dad, and somehow we're gonna have to figure that out.
He really was. He was the fun dad. My mom was the one that would ground all of our friends along with us, but my dad was the fun dad.
Excellent. All right, Lauren, thank you very much for joining us, because it was kind of short notice, but you've always been gracious to Andy and me about taking time to speak to us. So we appreciate it. And obviously we will keep in touch, and thank you for the info you shared with us today on the lunch break.
Of course. It was great to see you guys.
Take care.
Okay, you too. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that was awesome. And Will had to hop off because he had to get ready for a conference, a meeting. So that's why. And I hate this because I got some news that I just got an email. We're going to bring it up, Andy, after this break, but I'm love to get Will's thoughts on this as well. We can talk about it on Sunday's edition of Folks Talking Sports. But today, right now, you're watching me, Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, and Andy Yanez of Gallery Sports on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on the BS3 network on Roku TV. Download that app, BS3. You can get it. But now, I'm going to play this first clip because I love this guy. And at some point this summer, we are going to get together. Cole Sports, get ready, my man, as soon as I can find the spot. But thanks very much to Lawrence Sampson, the Director of Basketball Operations for the Houston Cougars men's basketball program, for taking time to talk to us. And let's play a clip because I want to let folks know who we are and what we're doing. First, this will be about the lunch break.
Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready. We ready. We ready for y'all. We ready. We ready.
The Lunch Break with AJ, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at noon Central.
And that is correct. But on Thursdays going forward, the goal and plan for Andy and myself is we are going to be the lunch break on Throwback Thursdays, the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, also available on the BS3 network on Roku. And now, this message from a man, Cole Sports.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
We're back. So, Andy, if you got any ideas for you and me to present to Cole Johnson for a promo, let me know, because I think he can do some great stuff for a spot for us here on Throwback Thursdays for us on the lunch break. What do you think?
Ideas in terms of marketing our show, or
Yeah, this show right here. Yeah. Pictures, promos, whatever. I don't know. You're better at that kind of stuff than I am.
Let me get back to you. I gotta tap in. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, Chris. A lot of my ideas end up being old wrestling promos. So let me let me come back and figure out some ideas to come back and get to you. But I'm curious. The tease you said before we went on break. What's the news?
Who do you think just announced? Got the email last few minutes. Who do you think announced an agreement with Ion Television?
Oh no, not the Pac-12.
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
you're asking Will. Is it related to the Big Ten?
Nope.
I have no idea. Oh, is it? Oh, is it the WNBA?
Yes, sir. The WNBA announced a multi-year agreement for Friday night spotlight games on Ion. How about that? And reading from the email, the WNBA is the first sports property to air on Ion, which will implement an extensive promotional effort to drive awareness and tune in for the new Friday prime time franchise. Huh.
Network TV, correct?
Yeah.
Sounds like they're making a play to become a much more viable sports network.
That is their plan. So that's, we could talk about it more. I'm trying to read the press release a little bit more here. Let's see. Script Sports, that's the company of Ion, was established to help leagues and teams extend their reach and connect with audiences through new distribution channels. That's from the president of Script Sports, Brian Lawler. We are pleased the WNBA sees the Ion Network as an opportunity to showcase its games with a weekly nationwide franchise designed to increase visibility and fandom for this sport. Women's sports merits a national broadcast network that ensures every American TV household can watch these amazing athletes and their gripping game play. How about that? All right, let's see. It's a multi-year agreement. Regular season on Ion. WNBA Friday Night Spotlight on Ion will feature WNBA games during 2 windows on Friday nights over 15 weeks from May 26th to September 8th. The Friday night schedule and windows, details of which will be announced at a later date, will include games that will be available nationally as well as games made available on a regional basis. It has begun, Andy.
Friday night window. That
Yep.
I mean, that might be the first domino move to maybe become more attractive to the Pac-12.
Yep, there you go. It has begun. So I think it'll work. Ion has more of a reach. Years ago, this is before, let's see, the league is 27, 28 years old. Early on, WNBA games used to be on the Lifetime Network on Fridays. I want to say more than just Fridays, but I knew Fridays was the first big reach for the league. But being on the Lifetime Network, the appeal was the match was Lifetime was women's network for movies and all those things. And they felt this great tie-in for the WNBA. But yeah, fast forward to 2023, a multi-year deal between the WNBA and Ion Television. How about that? And I think Pac-12, it could be a trial balloon for, if not the Pac-12, other leagues, colleges, college leagues, college conferences, or even pro, to see how it works, see if they can pull it off, to see what kind of ratings they get, all that. So, because there's no mention of dollar figures, of course, in the press release. I wonder if we can find that somewhere else in other spaces. But initially, it's not a bad idea. I'm kind of wondering who will be the broadcasters, if it'll just be the local teams announce crews or whatever. But it's a unique thing for the WNBA, and I think it's another positive for them going forward, and hopefully it'll work out, and time will tell. But all right, your thoughts on it. You and I touched on it Sunday on Folks Talking Sports that we had heard that Houston's men's hoops overseas trip would be in Australia. Lawrence Sampson basically confirmed that for us. So, what do you think about the Cougs going down under in August?
It's definitely going to be an awesome opportunity, like she alluded to, for this particular team with the new faces that they're bringing in, with the 3 incoming freshmen and the 2 transfers, obviously, and LJ Cryer and Damian Dunn. And I'm curious to see who they end up playing over there, especially if they play other professional teams, because again, that could be a really good test for that specific team to kind of be tried by fire right out the gates in August. And that's going to be a long, in and of itself, that's going to be a long flight getting over to Australia. So they're certainly going to have a lot of time to bond, a 10-day trip in and of itself. So first, it's exciting, but I think it's certainly going to benefit the team going back to the last time they made their trip in 2019. That year was kind of, I don't know if you could really compare, but there were some similarities to the team with Caleb Mills and Marcus Sasser with the incoming freshmen that year. Quentin Grimes had just transferred over from Kansas, so that team was different but similar in some ways, and it kind of helped them down the stretch. That was the year they got canceled by COVID, but they went 23-8 that season, I believe, something along those lines. So certainly exciting and a good opportunity for them.
And I'm curious about their opponents as well. It'd be nice if it'd be some teams from the NBL, especially with 1 or 2 teams that have American teenagers who have NBA aspirations. So that'd be a good look for them as well as the Cougs. But once the details are finalized, look forward to it. She confirmed what we had heard. So I'm not sure if it's breaking news or anything like that because it has been official.
I want to say Kelvin mentioned it during one of his availability. We knew about Australia somewhere, so I'm pretty sure we heard it somewhere. And yeah, it was officially confirmed. I want to say Kelvin mentioned it during one of his Zooms, but it's certainly looking like it's more officially official. Unofficially official, I guess that's one way to say. Until they do the release, it'll be official.
Right, because Lawrence Sampson, she's in the know. She has connections with the program. So, but definitely, sources tell us that the Houston Cougars men's basketball team will be going to Australia in August for 10 days. So
we'll definitely go back, clip that clip, and then post it on social media.
Without a doubt. So definitely that. Get your thoughts on the Draymond Green suspension.
Yeah, I heard you and Will talking about it, and oh man, I don't know. There's been a lot of wrestling references on this show, but my God, he just I don't know. So obviously his argument is Sabonis grabbed his ankle first, and he's not flexible, Chris. So he had to put his leg somewhere, and that included stomping on Sabonis. And I mean, I would think Sabonis was actually in pain with the way he reacted, but he definitely sold the reaction of getting stomped on by Draymond Green. I think the reasoning for his suspension that the NBA gave was pretty interesting, and it's multiple repeat offender kind of got factored into Green's suspension, which that's really interesting to bring up, especially in a playoff series. It's game 3 for the Warriors. For all intents and purposes, it's kind of a do or die game for them, because if they go down 3-0, it's going to be basically the series is over for them, with the Kings still having home court advantage in that series. So I think the reasoning is solid that the NBA gave. Obviously, repeat offender, we can go back years. I mean, to I don't know which came first, with Steven Adams issue when he kicked him, something about Draymond Green and his feet when he kicked him in there. You don't want to be kicked in if you're a dude.
Right.
Even with LeBron James in the 2016 finals when he took a swing at that where you do not want to get punched at if you're a dude. The reasoning is solid. He had gotten ejected in that game. At this point, whether it's soft or whatever you want to talk about the NBA, you can't curve stomp someone on the ground, even if they do grab your ankle. And I know he got ejected. If you look at it from the Warriors' perspective, it's certainly going to put them in a precarious spot because they're already down 0-2. They're going to be shorthanded, and it, I know Draymond Green is not an offensive, juggernaut, but he's certainly a very, very important piece to, especially what the Warriors do on defense. A team that's really struggled to shut down the Kings in crunch time the first two games, but I mean, the only person you can blame at the end of the day is Green, even though you grab your arm, which he does have a point. It did look like Sabonis, again, going back to those wrestling references, it looked like he was about to put him in an ankle lock when he grabbed his ankle. But that's not an excuse to go ahead and just stomp on the guy on the floor. And at the end of the day, it's on Green. Like, the NBA essentially had enough. And I know kind of the argument that a lot of national guys are saying, or there's a lot of noise where maybe the Warriors they're getting to a boiling point, for lack of a better phrase, with Green, which this very well could be the final few moments we have of seeing Green as a member of the Golden State Warriors. And for me, specifically on that suspension, I think it was the right decision, honestly.
Yeah, and the press release says, excuse me, the press release said the suspension was based in part on Green's history of unsportsmanlike acts. So this is on him. And I'll turn it around from a perspective because I'm much older than you. I am and still a fan of the Bad Boys, Detroit Pistons. And I'll say this and get a rise out of people because I love saying it the way I'm going to say it. The Bad Boys, the greatest team in the history of the NBA. Ask any Pistons fan to tell you that same thing. But the mental part of the game, Sabonis grabbed his ankle. His reaction, if a player reacts that way to anything I do, I got him. I'm in his head now. So Draymond is a vet. He should know better. He should know not to react to those things because that's what he does to opponents. He tries to get in their heads and get them off their game. So this is all on him. So I have no sympathy for him. And again, I'll go back to it. Do fans, especially those who believe in, going back to the wrestling references, the script part of entertainment, that the NBA would want to script it where the Kings advance in the playoffs instead of the Warriors? Come on. Let's be real. Let's be real about this. Mike Brown, the first unanimous winner of the Coach of the Year. This Kings are a great story. But no one outside of Sacramento believes they're going to set the ratings on fire if they get to the finals. Let's be real about this.
No, it'd be like a couple of years when it was a possibility of Denver getting to the finals. So it would have been Denver, Milwaukee, or something like that. It would be an interesting rating finals. Real quick, shout out to De'Aaron Fox, who's he's shown out in crunch time the last few games, and former Guy V. Lewis Award winner De'Aaron
Thank you,
Fox.
Andy. Thank you very much.
Gotta mention that prop in there. But going back to Draymond, no, absolutely. Again, you can't just stop a player. You gotta at least be more subtle. And at the end of the day, it's just the NBA saying they've had enough. Which I don't know if you could. This is probably not the right way to phrase this. If you could give Green credit, because he does a really good job at pushing the officials to the limit. And
yes, for
a
sure.
lot of times when he gets one technical, he could pretty much do almost anything he wants, and he's not going to get that second technical. And I think, again, from us keeping it at a local perspective, I think a lot of Rocket fans can agree with how frustrating it would be with some of Draymond Green's antics that he kind of got away with over the course of the last few years.
Yep.
Now, in this series in particular, again, visual, much worse when you're stomping on a player on the floor, whether he's grabbing your ankle or not. And then once he got ejected, to go and essentially ignite the crowd or whatever he was doing to the crowd with the commissioner of the NBA in attendance. There was this funny video on Twitter where they're from a fan perspective, or I don't know if it was a reporter, they're showing Draymond Green. It looks like he's hyping up the crowd. He's literally yelling at the crowd, and then it pans out and zooms in on Adam Silver. Again, I mean, there's only one person to blame, and it's on Green.
Yep. And De'Aaron Fox, I had to look it up to make sure I get the year right. But De'Aaron won the Garvey Lewis Award back in 2016 as the top boys high school player in the greater Houston area. So he is the most has had the most success in the NBA thus far. Quinn Grimes is in the league, of course, with the Knicks.
You got to be rooting for a Knicks-Kings finals, because then you have the battle of the Garvey Lewis Award winners.
That'd be great. Jim Nance, much appreciation to Jim. He would mention a few times through our broadcasts every so often in reference, Tremont Mark, winner of the Garvey Lewis Award, something like that. So that was great to see. Tremont, of course, is now transferred to Gard University, Arkansas. Arkansas has picked up like 4 or 5 transfers from the portal, and all of them are guards, all of them. So good luck to all of them in getting minutes. But we'll see how that all plays out. Let's see. Reminder, everybody, Donna, Tony, BF3, CJ. I'm Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me is Andy Yanez from Gallery Sports. You're watching Throwback Thursday, or as AJ says, Takeover Thursday for the Houston Roundball Review on the lunch break, powered by JM&E and streaming live on the BS3 network on Roku. I'm going to play this. And I don't know if you know about this, but this clip I'm going to play, AJ produced this movie.
When the man said that Sharifa Barksdale is on the verge, she's getting ready to set the world record. And I lost concentration and I followed that hurdle. I was devastated.
One of our hopes for the Olympic Games, Sharifa Barksdale from Tennessee, a fine intermediate hurdler ranked 10th in the world at 400 meters.
Posición game ball de Canadá, dominando la prueba, y la estadounidense Sharifa Barksdale está en.
When I fell over that hurdle, it ended my career. And then all of a sudden, my coach grabs me by the throat. And I was going through some paperwork and seeing that he had spent 10 years in prison. And I was just like floored. It turned to domestic violence. I was terrified. So if I left, I don't know if I was going to die. My family didn't know if they was going to get a phone call to say that Sharifa was dead.
Yeah, I said, pretty. I said a vehicle took a shot at me. Southbound on East 95th.
Broke the U.S. record in the 400-meter hurdles. Represented the United States of America.
Imagine being on the biggest, fastest roller coaster that you have ever been on. That's the way my life was for 20 years.
I never had no trouble out of her being what she wanted to be. Because if this is what she wanted to be a runner, well, God bless her, and he did.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome production, and that's an interesting story.
It is. I did not know a lot of the details about Sharifa's story, and JM&E Productions, produced it, and I think they're still in the final stages of trying to get it available in the big screen nationwide because it goes through steps. But salute to AJ for doing that, and we are proud to be part of this extension of JM&E here on the lunch break, streaming live on Roku, on BS3, but also, of course, on YouTube and Twitch and the other social media platforms. And for those folks who don't know, Andy and I and Willie Gibson have our own show on Sundays, for the most part, Sundays, called Folks Talking Sports. You can catch that on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Andy has his own show as well, Paul Slamma Jamma.
We just had a
Thank you.
big guest.
And who was that guest, young man?
Parker Jenkins, class of 2023, Houston Cougars football signee, who's going to join the program over the summer. And I mean, he had a good conversation. He talked about his recruitment. He talked about his relationship with Mike Jinks, who's the running back coach on the staff at the University of Houston. Talked about his relationship with Holgerson. I didn't know this until I was researching for the show, but he does track, and he's still in high school, obviously, and he does track. And we asked him if he could potentially do track at U of H, and he left that possibility open. Obviously, his main focus is going to be on football, but just a great young man, and honestly, seemed very, very mature for his age and dedicated. That's the one word I'll use. Dedicated. You could tell he's very, very dedicated off that interview. Like I said at the top of the show, that's Pod Slam and Jam, a free plug here on the lunch break. Go check it out on YouTube or if you're Spotify, Apple Podcasts, if you want to listen to audio only, or wherever you get your podcast. That's Pod Slam a Jamma, PAWDSLAMA. One other thing I got from the interview, Jenkins is very loyal because he's still a supporter of the Houston Texans despite the last few years. So very loyal.
Well, good for him. That's important. Yeah, good for him. And remind folks as well about the interview you had earlier today before joining the lunch break today.
Yeah, it's a big day today. Just for hopping on this link and talking on the lunch break, he spent over 45 minutes speaking with University of Houston Vice President of Athletics Chris Pesman on various topics, and that will be out. Still trying to decide if I should do it tomorrow or next week, but it was a great interview. We talked about a lot of different topics, mainly focusing on football, but just overall the athletics department as a whole. And he talked on some stuff that I don't know if he's mentioned before, so that's certainly exciting times. Obviously, as the program transitions, the athletics program as a whole transitions into the Big 12 conference in just less than a few months.
And I'm not going to go into naming the person, but knock on the wood here in my studio, I have an interview Friday morning with someone in the Big 12. And this person's pretty high up. Just going to put it out there for everyone watching us on YouTube and Roku and social media platforms. Yes, so hopefully everything goes well with that. And if the interview and technology runs smoothly, hopefully have that posted Friday or Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. But Andy and I, Dayon, Go Cougs, Ryan, Parker, everybody associated with the Cougs in different areas for shows, all of us are doing our part and looking forward to Houston in the Big 12. So join us if you want to sponsor us, me and Andy, our shows, Lunch Break, Folks Talking Sports. You can email me, kgardner@thehrr.com, and we'll get back to you. But yes, we got big plans going forward for all of our platforms. Andy, I'm going to be petty in these last 7 minutes and change on this edition of the Lunch Break. I think I sent it to you as well. Just the numbers, I'm going to say them, referencing the additions of the Houston Cougars women's team compared to the additions of Baylor's women's team. Talking transfers. All right. Did you see this? Did you see it already, Andy?
Yeah, that's what you sent me yesterday, correct?
All right. Yep. Baylor's 3 transfers. Yaya Felder averaged 22 points a game. These are our numbers from this past season, 2022-23. Jada Walker, 12.9 points a game. Madison Bartley, 14.1 points per game. So that is what? 49 points right there, roughly?
Mm-hmm.
Houston Cougars women's basketball. Peyton McFarland, transfer from Utah, 1.5. Nia Boyd from UTEP, 11.6. Malia Johnson from Pitt, 8.5. Andy, that is what? 20? 22 points? So 49 compared to 22. The JUCO player, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Dedezira Diawara from Clarendon College. JUCO, Clarendon College, community college. Good numbers. 18.4 points, 16.1 rebounds. Andy, when I didn't tell you this, but I found out after I sent it out to folks, people I trust, well, not people, what person I trust, told me that she's not very good. And told me she's not 6'2". She's shorter than 6 feet. So that gives me pause comparing Baylor's transfers from the portal to Houston's transfers for the portal, women's basketball, of course. And then also today, let me see, today, the Rice Owls women's basketball program, Andy, got a transfer from Samford. And oh my gosh, I'm not going to try to say her name, but her first name is Sussy, last name Ngulefac. Okay. 6'3", started all 30 games for Sanford this past season, Andy, in 24 minutes. 24 minutes. 11.5 points, 5 rebounds. Again, she started all 30 games for Samford. The Houston transfers. Nia Boyd, 5'6", UTEP, 11.6. Sussy for Rice was transferred to Rice from Samford in 24 minutes. Much better numbers. Malia Johnson, Pitt transfer, less scoring than Sussy. So, Andy, Rice got a better transfer production-wise than Houston. What do you say? What are your comments when I say that, bring those numbers up to you?
Questionable. That's really the only word you can use. We're at a wait and see approach, Chris. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can say. And you can say it, and I'll throw this out as a possibility. Because some folks say, well, the players Coach Huey's bringing in, it could have been in a bad situation. They get to Houston, more minutes, give them more time to shine. Correct. It's possible. But you and I do not believe that the Houston Cougars women's basketball staff does a great job of developing players. Right or wrong?
Proof in the pudding, they would not get the benefit of the doubt over the course of the past few years.
So we shall see. And of course, keep in mind, Houston is joining the Big 12. Big 12 women's basketball, even in, I think, a down year for the conference this past season, is still an upgrade for the Houston Cougars women's basketball program from the American. So, Andy, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not worried about it breaking. I don't have a lot of confidence in Coach Huey ending the drought this coming season and leading the team to the NCAA tournament. What say you?
That's, like you said, it's not going out on a limb. So I would agree.
That'd be 10 years in a row. 10 years in a row. And what's it going to take, Andy? What is it going to take? Is it just waiting for his contract to expire before a change is made? Would that be what it is?
Who knows? We shall see.
So we'll see. I'm going to keep putting it out there, and maybe people who have more influence for decision making will make a change. Time will tell. Andy and I will continue covering the team, but we don't have high expectations. Final thoughts. Shifting gears. Football. ESPN's Football Power Index. The Cougs were, I think, 11th out of the 14-team predictions, ahead of West Virginia, BYU, and Kansas. Do you agree with that? That too high, too low? What do you think?
I haven't paid much attention to Kansas and what they've done over the offseason or who they're losing, but I don't know. That Kansas seemed like pretty far ahead last season when they played, so I'm not sure if they've lost players or anything. Where's Texas in that list, Chris?
Number one.
Yep. I'll just say this. It's going to be really, really sweet when Houston still beats Texas October 21. That guarantee.
That's right. We will continue. Andy has been consistent in that statement, in that guarantee that the Houston Cougars football team will defeat the Texas Longhorns October 21st in Houston.
At
Correct?
TDCU Stadium. Correct.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've already been told by a few people that I'm nuts for saying that publicly, but I don't know. It's just a gut feeling on the record.
That's all right.
One meeting since I can't remember the last time they met, over 20 years.
A lot of folks think you're nuts, but it's okay. We're going to hype it up for the rest of this spring,
It'll happen.
Summer, and fall, leading up to October 21st. We might even figure out a way to get it mentioned at the Big 12 Football Media Day.
Oh, God.
So who knows? But
so coaches,
people are watching, Andy. If they said you're nuts, they're calling you nuts. People are watching what you do. So that's a positive.
Oh, I mean, on paper, you look at all the rankings. Yeah, maybe I am nuts. It's just a gut feel. I don't care if they go 1-11. They're going to win that one game, October 21.
All right. And the ESPN Power Rankings, roughly the prediction has the football team the Cougs going roughly 5-7. But Andy's saying one of those 5 will be a win over Texas.
And that'll ruin their TFP hopes by then, if they haven't already been.
All right. Wrapping it up, this edition of TakeOver Thursday on the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. Available streaming live on the BS3 network on Roku. How can folks find you, sir, on social media?
Yes, sir. They can follow me on Twitter at @Ayones_5. As always, Chris, thank you for having me on the show. And jam-packed show, like I said, we're going to go and then get that clip from Lauren about that Australia trip. She was an awesome guest. And a bit of a folks talking sports takeover at the beginning of the show with Will Gibson as well.
Thank you to Lauren and Will. I'm going to try to get the clip of a part of Lauren's time on us on Houston Roundball Review on Instagram. So once again, thank you to AJ for giving us this platform to share our thoughts and opinions on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. And we're going to close it out. Of course, I'm on Twitter at the HR Review, HoustonRoundballReview.com, Houston Roundball Review on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, Houston Roundball Review. Since 1994, local name, global perspective, and Sybil Wilkes, close us out. Well, there's no audio there, so I'm going to close it out. At least find a couple of moments. Thank you very much for everybody to tuning in, joining us on the lunch break. For those missed earlier part of the show, Lauren Sampson, the Houston Cougars Director of Basketball Operations for men's basketball for the Cougs, confirmed that the Cougs will be taking a trip to Australia in August, a 10-day trip. Look for that clip posted on my YouTube channel at Houston Roundball Review, and as well as on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much to everyone for watching us. Thank you to Ben and the folks at BS3 for giving us the platform to be on the BS3 network on Roku. If you don't have it, go to Roku and get the BS3 app on Roku. Look for us again. Like I said, also, I have an interview planned for Friday with someone high up in the Big 12. So look for that as well on Houston Roundball Review on YouTube, Instagram, and HoustonRoundballReview.com. So, as always, thank you to Donna, Tony, BS3, CJ, everyone watching us who watched this show, and of course, AJ for giving us the platform to share our thoughts, insights, opinions with you, the audience. We'll be back next Thursday, once again, for the next edition, of course, hopefully, the next edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, and streaming live from 12 to 1 p.m. Central Time on Roku on the BS3 network. So as always, thank you for your comments. real quick Rocket reference for Rocket fans. Tune in this Saturday on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel when I'll be joined by Jackson Gatlin from Locked on Rockets and Locked on NBA. We're going to talk Rockets with Rocket fans starting at 7 p.m. Central. Until then, take care. Peace.